Wow, quite a crowd, thank you. So Balázs, because we are indeed a little early, we'll come and then get mic'd up. Thank you so much for showing up. As Alessia just said, well, interesting times, and for a long time, security guarantees for Europe seem to be like a law of nature, and this world has gone. The question today is, how can we innovate and scale defense capabilities fast enough and still responsibly in this new reality? In other words, how long will it take for Europe to be taken seriously on that front? We're very privileged to have an expert panel here, which will give us all the answers, obviously. Marco, just introduced, he spent half his career on the CFO side and the other half on the business side, so he's multilingual in more than one sense. And Benedikt Franke, who's officially Vice Chairman and CEO of the Munich Security Conference, unofficially named Mini Machiavelli. And if your military service dates back some time, and you're wondering what kind of uniform that is, he's Lieutenant Colonel of the German mountain rangers, Gebirgsjäger. And as Balázs isn't here yet, I think it's a great opportunity to address a topic which is actually not the question of the panel, but I'm sure we all follow what's happening in Iran and the tragedy that is happening to a lot of very brave people there. And as we have Benedikt with us, Benedikt, could you just very briefly give us your take on Iran at the moment?
I was afraid you would be asking about Greenland.
We'll get to that later. We'll get to that.
Listen, can I point out that I finally have found an ingenious way to get around Steffi's no-tie policy. I'm thrilled to be back. I'm glad that you finally made it. Welcome on stage. Listen, about Iran, just three quick thoughts. First, it's yet another sign that this world is on shaky sands, that stuff can change very quickly, and that we need to get ready for very different situations. Second, as so often, it's a lot more complex than it looks on the surface. It's always so easy to, shout for freedom, ask for liberty. Super complex topic down in Iran, and it puts us at the Munich Security Conference in a super difficult space. Who do you invite? On what basis? Who do you give the stage? Really difficult, and despite the press reports this morning, we haven't made a decision yet. Just wanted to put that out there. And the third is, I believe looking at Iran should again lend credence to what we call no-regret strategies. So given a world where things keep changing minute by minute, you need to focus on strategies that are right regardless of what is happening around the world, regardless of what President Trump says about Greenland, in the morning or in the afternoon, regardless of what the position is towards Iran. And so I'm super thrilled to be on this panel, because I do believe that when we look at the European innovation system, there are quite a few very obvious no-regret strategies out there.
We'll get to those. Thank you for this take. Please.
Are they allowed to clap?
Of course, yeah. Obviously. So when we talk about the defense innovation ecosystem, Marco, is Europe's main problem a lack of technology, a lack of capital, a lack of speed, or a lack of political courage? And to make it a little more difficult, you can only pick one. So technology, capital, speed, or political courage?
So I don't think Europe lacks any of this. I don't think we are lacking technology. I don't think we are lacking capital. And definitely, I don't think, especially after what you said, we are lacking courage. What I think... Speed? I mean, I will get there, okay? So I think what we need...
Take it slow on speed.
We still have 19 minutes anyway.
No, I have 25 questions for 19 minutes, LB.
No, I do believe we need speed and we need scale. So when we look at Europe, also from the banking perspective, the way I see it is that we need to probably wake up a little bit in the sense of having the sense of urgency on daily basis. And whether it's technology, whether it's capital flow, whether it's artificial intelligence. Even internally, we are doing a lot of discussions on how this is going to impact our life in the future. And I really believe we need to reflect on the speed for consolidation, the speed for supporting companies to become bigger. We need European champions. And because the time everybody said, well, the technology is changing, we are all looking into exponential growth. Without speed, I think we don't have much of a chance. So back to your question, I do believe we have all the ingredients. We need to put them together, and we need to be faster, and we need to reconsider the way we are working. Because looking at the way we have came to this point, if we want to project it for the future, might not be the smartest choice.
Thank you. Balázs, do you agree, or from your tech perspective as a startup founder, do you have a different point of view?
It's a very interesting time, I think, because we know that in the last 40 years, defense was completely for primes, and they were very, very developing completely different systems, which the battlefields needs now. Of course, we need also the old system, but we need both. And here, I think in Europe, I'm originally from Hungary, and I started the company here in Germany. I see, of course, the different perspective, how most of the people are kind of hopeless here. But I think that we have everything here, right? So we have a great university, we have a very, very good industry, especially here in Bavaria, and we have also the money. Now the question is, how can we scale? The problem is when we are looking on a startup and the big defense startups here in Europe, that we still see that they are financed by the US. The question is, can we right now take more risk? And can we also scale? Because this is, I think, the crucial point where we are now. It's not the question if we can start, the question is if we can scale.
Benedikt, your take?
Sometimes I feel like a party pooper and a one-hit wonder coming here. I've spoken here the last 4 years, some of you can remember, and I've said the same thing every single time. I've said that, it's true that Zeitenwende has arrived in the debate. We keep talking about it. You actually feel less uncomfortable with somebody like me sitting on the stage than you did 4 or 5 years ago.
Especially in uniform.
Especially in uniform. But has the debate really led to discernible change? Have you really, internalized the difficult structural decisions that we need to take? And so, you haven't asked that question, but I'm going to ask it myself. Is it really political courage that we need? Or aren't we actually in a democracy where the will of the people is what provides politicians with the basis for political courage? And there are still too many of us who live in two worlds at once, who know that this world is not in a good place, and who still do not change a thing about their personal lives, about their political activities, about their opinions. We watch Iran on TV. We, laugh about the Greenland issue. We keep getting reminded of the drama in Ukraine, and still we change very little. So I don't think it is political courage. It is the will of the people.
Well, political
in many
courage
instances.
depends on the will of the people because there are elections and
yes.
they want to be re-elected.
So that is the thing that is missing.
Exactly.
It's not universities, it's not money, and I don't think it's speed. It really is all of us saying this is something that we want.
I think this is exactly what I'm afraid of, the society and how they are not aware of the problem until it's there. And this is the, we experienced that with COVID, right? When that was there, then we changed everything immediately, but it was maybe also too late. We didn't know that it's coming. It was too far when it was in China there. It is too far when it's in 400 kilometers away, or 400 or 1,000 kilometers away in Ukraine. And this is really concerning me every day, that we don't see the society. And then when the society is not supporting, it means also that the politicians are not also so strong and can do like a campaign also with like just, oh yeah, we want to do more defense in the country, because they are, it's not a positive message, right?
In terms of transformation, it's quite hard to like change or exchange society. So question to any one of you who feels he's ready to answer. If Europe were starting from scratch today, what would a functional scaling defense innovation ecosystem actually look like, and which of the existing institutions would not survive that reboot? Bundesbeschaffungsamt.
I like the Bundesbeschaffungsamt.
Okay.
Can I say that on record?
Also,
that I like the Bundesbeschaffungsamt.
At that size?
Yeah, see, I think, give them some credit. We collectively, through our politicians, have given our institutions inconsistent input over the years. A couple of years ago, it's not even 10 years ago, we wanted peace missions across the world. That's what the Bundeswehr was there for. Now it's all about the defense of our territory. The poor guys in the Bundesbeschaffungsamt, for those of you that don't speak German, that's our procurement agency. They will
remind me, how many people working there?
I think it's 4,000-ish.
12,000, but 12,000 are working there. But yeah,
you've probably talked to every single one of them. I've only talked to 4,000.
I'm not, but I can also completely understand. So in the past, it was not a priority. They
exactly, but the
had
question is,
different processes.
If you started from scratch, if you would reinvent it, would you do it that way, or would you do something differently, where we want to get to?
I would do it in a similar way, that there is one agency who across all services looks at procurement. I think that's an easy one. The question is, what do we prioritize, and what gets approved how and when? I am a big fan of having increased the amount of money that needs parliamentary approval. You may remember it used to be 5 million. So for every 5 million, you needed to go to the budget committee in the Bundestag and get an approval. Disastrous. Now it's 25 million. You know that for 25 million, you can probably get the left wing of a F-35. So it's still not good enough. It's things like that. I wouldn't tamper with the institutions. I think we need to make sure, where do we stand in our own way, and get out of the way.
You're about mindset.
And there are nice examples, like the Ukrainian Sonderstaff. Like, they are also handling a huge amount of money, and they are a very little amount of people. They are working there, and this is also more efficient. So also in Ukraine, and the procurement there, we are learning right now, and they are adapting. So there is definitely a change also in the mindset, but we have to consider that this change has happened right now. They didn't have the budget before.
Talking about budget, that's my cue, and actually we're going to get to Marco in a second. But
so you are asking me about the money.
It comes with the job, I guess.
Not very original, but first to Balázs, when you started TYTAN, remind me, how many banks did you have to approach to get a business account? That was around 2 years ago?
And which Munich-based conference helped you on the way?
The DLD. No, so we met first time at the DLD. So this is something, credit for DLD, but then credits for Munich Security Conference. But yeah, back then, 2 years ago, it was definitely a challenge just to have investments for institutional investors, but also just to open a bank account. It was not easy. We were rejected by all of the banks, well-known banks we know here. We got some help because we had some connections. And then we had to go through a KYC process. We were like a startup which just started 2 weeks ago, and it was not possible because we were doing defense. That was at that time. Of course, everything changed, and the Unicredit is one good example for that. But at that time, we also started with private investment, business angels, because they didn't have LPs who had regulations. It was not easy to start, and we were part of this process, to this change process. Right now, I think we are not there yet, but we are very close.
Okay, Marco, not so long ago, let's say at dinner parties, fintech was sexy, but defense somehow sort of awkward.
That's why I never get invited to dinner parties.
Poor you. You've heard him. Let's say Benedikt get invited to dinner parties now. You all get the chance. Reputational risk, ESG. I hear that this has changed, but is it really sort of a long-standing? Will it be a sustainable sort of embracing of that sector?
Well, I mean, obviously everything is changing, and also the perception of certain topics is changing, because we all feel that we need a higher level of security, we need decision-making faster. We need to make sure that all the ingredients of whatever European defense system is required are in place. We read a lot of how much it costs, where it is coming from, and so on and so forth. The way I see it is, on one side, and I like what you said, that we need to change the way of thinking, you know? And we need to do it collectively, but also individually, you know? And I will invite everyone to think and reflect if you have changed anything in your life in the last 4 years, 3 years, or 2 years, to adjust to the world. Because it's too easy to say, well, it's somebody else's fault. Yeah, but the cure or the solution, it's a collective solution. So I think we all need, in the bank, in the defense, in the fintech, no, to think differently, because the world is different. And then when it comes to the second ingredient, it's also consistency. So I like what you said, even though I understood we probably have to improve the onboarding process anyway, to make sure that it's not so painful. But we also being very consistent. So the ESG policy was already there. The defense policy was already there. When he was not, you said it was a bit uncomfortable to have you in those conferences. So,
It usually is.
yes, no, but what I'm saying is, now the perception is changing, but we were there 4 years ago, 10 years ago. So, in other words, I don't really believe in you switching your logic according to the urgency. I mean, as UniCredit, we have been in this business for a very long time. Obviously, what we need to do now, we need to make sure that the capital flows faster. And the other thing, which embraces both sides of the panel, is one thing is to fund an established company with 100 years of history. Another thing is to fund a startup with a lot of enthusiasm and 2 weeks of history. You know, you said at the beginning, the metric is different, but you need both. Mm-hmm. And I think as banks, you also have the duty, and it's your job to make sure that the capital comes in the right place, because and also, you know, we are present in 13 countries, so we can help a lot of this consolidation, if you wish, also in that sector. So back to your point, consistency and speed is like, say, you need to grow faster, but you need to remember that at one point you'll be so big that you also need to grow in an orderly manner. So you need governance, you need protocols. It does not have to be bureaucracy, but it will help you to sustain the growth.
Okay.
No?
Quick question to the audience, and because it's a sort of, like, we can all trust each other here. Who of you owns shares in defense tech? Quick show of hands. Would you say that's, like, I know this is not empirical. Thank you for a show of hands. I'm sure some more people do, but didn't raise their hands. Would that be more than used to be, like 4 years ago?
I would say definitely.
Okay. So I'm going to share with you something I read a while ago in Frankfurter Allgemeine, and it really surprised me. It said, I'm quoting here, "A taboo is falling. German banks are no longer shying away from financing defense companies and are even spotting growth opportunities." Anyone want to guess the publishing date? Like, a taboo is falling with German banks, and they're spotting growth opportunities.
You said the date?
The date of that article being published in Frankfurt.
Probably very recent.
Yeah.
Last 2 weeks.
14th of January 2026.
Nearly, it was 22nd of March 2025, which was 3 years into Russia's war against Ukraine and 2 months after Donald Trump's inauguration. So you said UniCredit has been there for a very long time, but apparently sort of in the German banking ecosystem, unlike BNP Paribas or ING, we haven't been there for such a long time. What took us so long? I mean, 3 years into the Ukraine war, and the taboo is falling.
Can I just be annoying and not answer that question, but again, sort of give it a little twist? Yeah, but nice try. Listen, I'm afraid that yes, banks are now ready to support the occasional startup, and they're, you know, attracted by the huge share price increase in the primes, which just makes it an attractive opportunity. But the question is, are we actually making the usual mistake where you prepare for the last war? I have the feeling we finance the last war. Investing in drones, super sexy. everyone loves it. 95% of the money that is currently flowing into defense innovation is on drones. So just what if drones are not the solution to the next conflict?
Very tough, Balázs.
Yeah.
It's not tough. You shouldn't invest in drones. You should invest in capability.
There we go. Explain.
Okay, good answer to the ecosystem. So, Marco, because as I said, you're multilingual in more than one way. There's a German thing called Vollkasko-Mentalität, which means every...
You're getting a great German lesson today. Bundesbeschaffungsamt and Vollkasko-Mentalität.
Easy to pronounce, both of them. Which basically means every corner covered, no risk. Germans generally aren't considered very sort of prone to risk. As an Italian...
It's not that all the Italians are creative either. I mean,
no, but if you look at traffic, etc., it's like...
that one I tend to agree.
The panel went out of control.
We still have 3 minutes, imagine the end.
Exactly, and I'm sort of
It's okay.
running through the questions.
2 minutes.
But do you think Germans are particularly prone to not taking risks, and we have to do a better job in changing that mindset than, let's say, the rest of Europe or other countries in Europe?
Well, I came 3 years ago from outside. I've been living in different countries. And I have to admit that when I came to Germany, my expectation was everything is super organized and very well functioning. And then you somehow surprised me with some corner of, not perfect organization either. So I think...
You could be a diplomat.
I could be a diplomat, but I'm a banker, which is also sometimes being a diplomat. No, the way I see it is there is a way to do things, and again, it's not all the same, no? When you take a risk on a company like this, it's different, so you need to understand, and I like what you said about skills, competencies. You're not financing a drone, no? It's like, in other words, it's like saying, we want to invest in technology, because I think it was a smart question of who owns shares in defense industry. But if you do the same on technology, you probably see more ends. And then we have a tech team in Berlin that has been there very successful for a very long time. And if you ask them today, and this would probably be concerning on all the ends raised, when you speak technology today, it's not the same technology of 10 years ago. So in other words, it's not about the risk, it's about understanding what you're doing, because you might be, and you were also using another example earlier, you cannot cover all the corners, no? As a company, imagine you're growing, so you cannot place your bets everywhere. So what we have to do, and we are lucky we have been consistently investing in this knowledge about technology for the last 20 years, that we do somehow understand which are the areas where this money needs to flow. Obviously, we need experts, whether are from technology, whether are from defense. And I think opening this dialogue and keeping this dialogue very open is crucial, because if somebody says, I know everything, that's a very big mistake nowadays. And in the future, I think it will be even bigger.
Just one comment on the risk.
We actually ran out of time. I have one last question for all of you. Please, very, very brief answer. In 5 years' time, reality check, how do we know we actually have the ecosystem we're talking about now that we want?
We are still alive.
We're still alive? Maybe less fragmented?
We have more startups, we have more scale-ups. I think this is something very important, that we have more companies which are bigger than just like 100 or 200, like they are really creating a capability and not just like products. I think this is one very important one, to have more scale-ups.
And then just to pair with my friend here, alive and also very happy, possibly, right?
Alive and happy. That's a great idea. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
War ein guter Schluss.